Alright everybody, welcome back. My name is Joshua and this is Dark Earth Customs. Today we're going to get started back on my 98 Ram, and we're going to put a muffler in it. The reason being is that the chipmunks have decided that the muffler is going to be their home, and they packed it full of grass and acorns and whatever else they could find, to the point where I wasn't getting an exhaust out of my tailpipe anymore. The back pressure of the exhaust not being able to leave blew up my exhaust manifold gaskets on the truck, which is another job for another day. When I start my truck, it actually smells like a bonfire because of all the acorns burning inside the muffler. So we're going to get under the truck, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this. And I'm not going to be, I don't believe I'm going to be having to actually cut pipes. What I plan to do is just pull the clamps, cut the muffler loose, and then slide the new muffler in its place. And that should take care of everything. I have all the exhaust tools I need to do this. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to go grab the truck and get it in here. It's about 7 o'clock tonight. It's a balmy 40-ish degrees outside. And it's time to start working on the muffler. So I'm going to start by cutting the clamps off of each end, and go from there to find out what else I need to cut off, if I need to cut anything off to get that filthy, horrible acorn-packed muffler off. So let's get started. This is also going to be a very interesting video, just for the simple fact of how tight it is under my truck. So you guys might not see me much, but you will hear me, and you will hopefully see what I'm doing. So let's get started. Alrighty, everybody. Well, the biggest problem with doing underbody work or under vehicle work when you don't have a lift is space. Space is at a premium. Now, of course, I forgot my goggles, so I gotta go get some goggles. I know I have glasses on. Those are not goggles. You need something to protect your eyes from falling debris. So I'm gonna go and get something for my eyes, and then I will come back and we're gonna get started. I should technically say safety glasses, not goggles, because that's what they are. I have another pair in case these don't work, but we'll give these a shot here. Yeah, so again, space is at an absolute premium. It's gonna be a big, tight project down here. And what I need to start by doing is by cutting off the clamps that are on each end. This is one right here, and there's one on the other end that we'll get to once this one is cut. Now, having tools, time to readjust the light, I guess. That looks good. Having power tools is going to make this a whole heck of a lot easier, but it is still tight. I'm going to be using a drill with a cutoff wheel attached. Now, I have a high-speed grinder, but I'm out of cutting discs, and this is the best I could find. So if this doesn't cut it, I'm going to have to figure something out, but at least we'll try first with this. Yep, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to switch, so I will be right back. So, do any of you remember what Tim Allen used to say on Home Improvement? If he didn't have enough power, more power. I have gone and stepped up to my cutoff wheel. This thing spins around 10,000 RPM and makes lots of sparks, and should be able to cut through just about anything, including this old rusty clamp. And it is also going to be loud, so I imagine I will have to mute this part because it's going to be noisy and sparky. Whoa. Heck, that clamp is already almost completely spent, and actually it is. So this clamp is completely Minnesota rotten. Get it out of the way. I have a feeling this muffler is going to be cut off one way or another. Because I need to get the muffler cut off so I can put the new muffler on. It's highly unlikely that that's going to come apart without cutting it apart. But I guess we'll find out, huh? There's always one way or another to get the job done. Alright. So now it's time for us to move a little further up. That creeper is just too high. So it is back to being on my back under a vehicle. Here's the other clamp, which is just about as useless. New muffler, new clamps. Come on. This is not a game you want to play with me. You're gonna lose. Of course, I left my hammer behind me. There we go. Now, let me get my hammer. It looks like we might have a bit of an Indian summer up here this weekend, but past that, we're looking highs into the 40s, low 40s. And if you don't know what an Indian summer is, that means that it's going to be warm or hot one last time before the final plunge into the deep cold. I don't want to cut too deep into this pipe because this is the actual pipe that the muffler slips over. But I'm probably going to have to at least notch it to try to break some of that rust free. I suppose I might need a better hammer. So, as usual, it is extremely hard to work under a vehicle. Haven't done this for a long time. Got a nice big hammer, 2.5 pounds. And if that fails, I have the final straw. This is my exhaust set. This is made specifically for doing exhaust and cutting exhaust if needed. That will make short work of this muffler. It's not turning just the way I was hoping it would. Well, that thing's on there. Looks like my transfer case is leaking too. So I got a leaky transfer case, I got a leaky axle. I have to make sure all my fluids are topped off before winter. Okay, well, there really isn't much of a choice left. Howdy, everybody. I can't tell you how much I love being under a vehicle, being cramped up like I'm in a coffin. I suppose it is close to Halloween after all. So, this little beauty is an exhaust pipe cutter. It works like a can opener, and it's got nice sharp rollers on the inside, and I just wiggle it back and forth around the exhaust pipe until the exhaust pipe cuts. So that's what we're gonna try, because aside from aside from a torch, I guess, this is the next step. So I don't see why this wouldn't cut it. Now what's probably going to happen is it's going to cut the collar off from around the muffler, and that's what I'm actually trying to achieve, is to not cut this pipe, but to cut this pipe. Put some light back on it. So I don't want to cut this pipe. I want to cut this, the end of the muffler on both sides. And so to do that, throw my exhaust pipe cutter over. And try to find out which one is going to be the best suitable. Looks like that one there. Actually, it'll have to be the next one down because I need to be able to pull these handles tight. I'm just gotta kind of push this up and you just work it back and forth, squeezing and cutting. I still don't have a very good grip on it. I wonder if I can go down one more rung here. This is what you definitely call manual labor. So, I'm going to work at getting this cut, and I will come back to you and show you what happens when you run this cutter enough. Alright, so I was able to cut through both the front and back of the tailpipe, or I mean the muffler. So let me go ahead and show you that right now. Well, I go ahead and pick out rust chunks out of my hair that'll probably be in there for a month. So, if I shine the light up there, you can see the cut that was made right next to the muffler. This is the back side. I did the same to the front side. You can see that the moisture that's inside the system is already seeping through. So I have cut the flange on the outside of the pipe itself, which holds the muffler in place. Next step is to go ahead and get the muffler off and get those sections of pipe cut off too. Then it's just as simple as installing a new muffler. So let's figure out how I'm going to go about that. Well, that was easy enough for the back side. I just gave her a little push and it separated all on its own. So that's easy. Now I just have to get it uncoupled from the front side. Then I just have to cut these sections off of here. And then I got a new muffler to put on, and it is all done. Can't sleep. Clown will eat me. Can't sleep. Clown will eat me. Anyways, I am sitting up because I had to sit up, because not only was my neck about to fall off, and I should actually be looking at the camera, not part of the camera. Not only was my neck and head about to fall off my shoulders from the pain, but I had to eventually just kick the darn thing off. I went back to the front and I cut it again. I felt the final cut. There was just a little bit of metal left. And once that cut through, I gave her a few good kicks and she went flying off under the truck. So there it is. There's my horrible, rusty, acorn-filled muffler. So now, praying that the muffler that I ordered is the right length, it should be as easy as slipping the new one in. Now, I said I still have collars to cut off. And I do. So, let's see if I can get under here enough to show you. Okay. So you can see that this whole thing was filled with moisture and condensation because it was packed full of acorns. You can see this little metal collar. I have to take my cutting wheel and cut that off. And now, maybe I should explain all this to you so you guys know what I have here. This is what you call an exhaust set. These two right here, these are tailpipe expanders. These you slip into your tailpipe. If you got a crimp in your pipe and you need to get it out, you put one of these in the pipe, and you preferably use an impact because otherwise you're going to be working for a while. But these will expand and pull that crimp out of the pipe. This is a tailpipe cutter. This is what I showed you earlier. This is what I used to get the muffler off. This is hardened steel. So when you have soft steel like a muffler and hardened steel like this, it's like a can opener. With enough turns, you're going to cut right through that soft steel that the muffler is made out of, and it's going to come off just like mine did. And finally, this is a cutter. That is a bolt cutter specifically made for cutting U-bolts on exhaust if you need to get those out and you can't get them out any other way. That one works under the same premise. You slip the nut through, crank down on it till it breaks, and then you can get your U-clamp off. Now, these kits are not expensive in the grand scheme of things. I wish I would have had something like this for many, many moons. Let me get this shut here. So, what you're looking at is that. It's Powerbuilt's Kit 42, and it's their exhaust pipe tool set. If that's something that you think you might need, I would highly recommend it. Now that I'm done explaining that to you, and I'm not sponsored, that's just what I use. And now that we're done with that, it's time to cut these bands off. Now, again, loud noises. It's probably just easier to come back to you once I'm done cutting them off. That way there's no sparks flying in your face and no noise that you can't stop listening to. So I'm just gonna pause it right here, and I will be right back. Alright guys, I got the bands off. I will show you. I got the back one off already, and I'm working on getting the front one off. And yeah, it sounds like I'm a little out of breath, but it's hard when you're laying under your vehicle to do work when it's just you're on your back. So yes, I'm a little out of breath. Anyways, you can see that I notched this band from front to back, and it's already moving enough for me to wiggle it off. Now, this is extremely sharp metal. I don't have my gloves down here with me, so I'm being as careful as I possibly can. And there we go. I already sized up the new muffler and the old muffler. The new muffler is a bit shorter, but its overall length is the same, which means including the including the ends, it's the same length. And it's also made by a company called Walker, who makes very, very good exhaust systems, very reputable and very worthy. This muffler only cost me $70. So it is factory. It's not going to make the truck sound like a hot rod or anything. This is my work truck. This is my travel truck, and I want it quiet. And that's what Walker has said this muffler will do, is keep it quiet. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and grab some sandpaper and a towel, and I'm going to clean off the ends of the piping. I'm going to clean off this end, and I'm going to clean off the tailpipe end. Then we're going to go ahead and slide the muffler on here, and then hook it onto the backside. We'll adjust for front to back, put the clamps on, and it is all done. That's how easy it is to put a muffler on, at least on an older vehicle. And actually, it's actually a little bit easier to do it on new vehicles, because not only are the parts not rusted, but they don't use U-bolts anymore. They use something called band clamps, and those clamps are a lot easier to get on and off. So yeah, but this hasn't been too bad. So I'm gonna go get what I need, and I will be right back. So I'm just taking a little bit of sandpaper here, and I'm going to go over the edge of the tailpipe, or the edge of the pipe here, to get any rough surface off that might impede the new muffler from going on. And then take a towel, just like that. And now I'm going to do on the back side the same as I just did on the front. Alright guys, so now the last step, before I go ahead and put the muffler up, is a little trick that doesn't hurt the muffler or anything. And it is taking a little oil, whether it be 3-in-1 oil like this, or maybe just a little bit of motor oil or something of that nature. Now, usually, well, I wouldn't say usually. So sometimes people are willing to try to dry fit metal together. Metal doesn't always dry fit together very well. So trying to put up a heavy muffler on a rusty pipe isn't always going to be the easiest. So what I have found works is just to take a little oil and be very, very careful not to slice your finger wide open here. And just put a little bit of oil on the inside surface where the pipe goes into. It'll burn off. It might take a few miles for it to burn away. Either way, it's better than trying to make parts fit that aren't fitting. And see, just looking at something here, I just saw something that's going to stop the fitment from working. And I didn't see that before. Now, this isn't going to stop it from going on, but it will cause a problem. So if you're looking at this, I don't know if you can see this little dimple right here, but it's facing inwards. Well, there isn't a pipe in the world that's going to get past that little dimple. So now that dimple has to be pressed out. And I'm going to do that by using my exhaust pipe expander that I showed you earlier. Okay, so couple things. First, you're probably asking, do I need to have a pipe expander if something like this happens? No, you don't. You can use a pliers, a wrench, a hammer, and a screwdriver. Whatever you can use to try to push that dimple back out will work. For me, this is just handier. So what I'm going to do now is this expands. You see this little rubber band type thing on the outside that holds all these expansion joints in place as it's expanding. Now, what I'm doing is I'm starting by making sure that that dimple is over one of the expansion joints. And then what I'm going to do is just run my impact on it a tiny bit to get that to pop more than what I can do by hand. So, just gonna get loud for a minute. And that dimple is now gone. It's not even there anymore. And technically, what I just did may have also actually flared this end a tiny bit by like maybe a millimeter. Now, is it needed? No, shouldn't be needed. This pipe should fit right on. So hopefully I don't have to drop this back down and flare the ends, because this is supposed to be a 2.5, what's called 2.5 ID, which is inner diameter. So inside here is 2.5 inches. My pipes that are under the truck are 2.5 OD, so 2.5 outer diameter, which is why they should slide inside one another. Then when it's lined up and up there, take these clamps. These are actually heavy duty exhaust clamps that don't give as easily, and hang those up. Put the bottom band on, put the nuts on, tighten it down, and that's it. Now, whoever put this exhaust on this truck before didn't tighten it down too well. So, thankfully, I thank them, because this could have been a harder project if I had to flare out the pipes inside already, but I don't. And then, lastly, if you look at the side of the muffler here, it says inlet. Some say inlet, some say outlet, some say both. What this means is that the exhaust that comes out of the engine needs to go into here, into this side, because it says inlet, meaning that's the inlet, and the exhaust has to flow in that direction, even though the arrow's pointing that way, but it's pointing to this. So most mufflers have an in and an out, unless it's something like a glass pack or a cherry bomb or something from the 50s that nobody uses anymore. But anyway, now that we have that little dimple solved, I'm going to go ahead and get started with putting this muffler up. And then we're going to get it tightened down. And then we're going to see how quiet the truck actually is. I want to know how bad did I blow the exhaust manifold gaskets because of that muffler that was on there. When I kicked that muffler off and it hit the ground, all I heard was like rocks rattling in a can, which was all the acorns rumbling around inside the muffler. Then I have to make a cage for my tailpipe to keep the worthless demonic chipmunks out of my exhaust system. So, now that I made my little complaint against the chipmunks, let's get a muffler up. And in some cases, putting the muffler up is actually probably the hardest thing to do. Now, I know you guys have, it's kind of hard to show the light and still film it in the dark, but I know you guys have kind of seen that little green hand light that I've had around. My brother actually gave that to me for Christmas a couple Christmases ago, I think it was. And I'll tell you what, that light has been an absolute lifesaver. I use it everywhere. It's rechargeable, it works, and it's bright. I even use it at night as a headlight on my golf cart. Okay. Now, thankfully that wasn't too awful bad. Mufflers are also generally, their inlets and outlets can be offset to each other. So they usually do go in a certain direction. This one looks like it goes up quite a bit. I have to move you guys back some and my light because I need room to maneuver around. Now, you can probably also see that I'm quite a bit a ways with these two. Now, I wish I would have had a little bit more oil in this front, and maybe I'll do that. I'm gonna pull it back down because there's just not enough lubricant for it to work correctly. Alright, so I got some more oil in the front of the muffler. So let's go ahead and get that put back up. Alright, so you see what I'm doing here is I'm having to go past this. Then I'm going to have to angle the muffler up to where it needs to be, and then I'm going to work this back and forth, so I'm sliding it back again so it'll line up where it needs to be. And I'm going to get you out of the way for a second because I got to put some oil up here too. And we definitely don't need this gripping on my camera. I hear a slight rain starting outside. Good night for Mr. Jason Voorhees to come skulking around. Camp Crystal Lake. Or Mr. Michael Myers. Or Freddy. Some of the most famous horror guys of all time. Alright, so it looks like it's got to go right about there. So, I wonder if I can use my rubber mallet and maybe give her some wax backwards. Instead of trying to wobble it, because that's going to be a real pain in the butt. Ugh, it is so tight under here. Ugh. It works a bit and then it stops. Come on. Alright, so now what I'm doing, now that I got both ends connected, I'm checking for clearances. So it actually looks, at least according to my grind mark I got here, that the muffler is sitting exactly where it's supposed to. So, boy, when your shocks are that brown, Now, you can see I was pulling the tailpipe forward. And I see that my muffler has went forward also. So this is good. That means that the exhaust system is clamped up nice and well. I only see a tiny bit of grind mark there, which is what it would have been when I was cutting the relief. And the front is almost completely covered up now. As a matter of fact, I don't see the relief cut at all. There it is. Okay. So, I got a bit of the relief cut that I made in the pipe up here. Maybe about 3/8 of an inch. And I got about 3/8 of an inch back here. So I would say that's pretty darn good. And the tighter you can make it without throwing your exhaust geometry all out of whack, the better. So I'm going to leave it exactly where it is. I think it's exactly where it needs to be. So now we're going to do the final job, and that's putting the exhaust clamps down. So I got one clamp for the front and one for the back. Now I did start the truck without the muffler, and I should have ran it for you guys just for an experience. It did sound kind of like a hot rod minus the muffler. That's kind of cool. But you know what? For me, that's not a truck. A truck is a tough brute that doesn't need to show that they're a tough brute. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. And I'm going to have to impact this all on now. So I suppose I need my safety glasses from falling rust. And it's probably going to be loud too. So just to let you guys know. Oh, that's not even close to the right socket. Here's the right socket. I'm like, why is it a shorty? I didn't grab a shorty. All right, here we go. All right, back clamp is on and in good position. Let's go ahead and get the front, and then the darn thing is all done. Not bad for an hour's worth of work. Not even, I don't think. Well, overall it was an hour, having to get tools and all this and all that and blah blah blah, but the actual job was only about an hour. So if I can do this laying under a truck with basic tools, you can even do this with a socket wrench if you absolutely have to. I just have the ability to use an impact. This can all be done with hand tools and has been done with hand tools for decades. Alright, loosen that up a little bit more to get it to where I want it, which is right about there, about a half an inch or so from the end. And then we're just going to run the impact down again. Oh, yeah, see? That darn thing backed off. That's what I was trying to avoid. So, sitting there trying to clamp it down, and what does it do? It walks off. Alright, well, here's the deal. I don't think that's tight just yet, but my impact is out of juice. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish tightening that down tomorrow after my battery's charged up, because I am done for the night. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave you guys under here, and I'm going to start the truck, and we're going to see just how quiet it is. Alrighty guys, so that is that. The muffler is done. One more off the list. Sounds good. Could sound better. The problem is, because of all the back pressure, it blew out my front gaskets too. Now those are a bear, an absolute bear to fix. Because I'm assuming most of the exhaust manifold gaskets are not going to come out without breaking. Or I should say, the exhaust studs won't come out without breaking. So, unless I can get the engine super hot, I'm not sure what to do about that just yet. But there is exhaust flowing. The muffler is attached. I will finish the impact tomorrow. And my truck is quiet once again. So let me go ahead and I'm going to show you the tailpipe to prove it to you guys. Alright, so you can see the tailpipe. Now what's coming out is just cold weather steam. That'll go away once the exhaust system gets up to a good temperature where it's not this way anymore. That wasn't there before. There was nothing coming out of the tailpipe before because the muffler was so packed. So that proves it. I can shake the old muffler around like a maraca. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So this job is done. So I'm going to go ahead and call this a night, throw my battery on the charger so I can finish impacting it tomorrow. Let the barn air out a little bit. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening or night, whatever time this may be when you're watching this. And I will see you guys all later.